Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Oh my God, happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Can you tell that I didn't shave? I can look and see that I didn't shave this morning and I needed to. Wow. Awesome show planned for you today. Joel Klatt, you guys know Joel Klatt. He and Gus Johnson do an incredible job calling college football for Fox Sports. Joel Klatt, the former Colorado quarterback, now the lead broadcaster for Fox Sports as it relates to college football. He's going to rejoin the program, and I'm going to allow him to gloat about the success of Deion Sanders' Colorado Buffaloes. They're 7-2. I'm telling you, when the season started, I thought Joel was crazy for suggesting that Colorado could win 8 or 9 games and be in contention for the Big 12 title. I thought Joel had lost his marbles. I think it's only appropriate that I bring Joel back and let him talk smack to me, but Joel will do it in good spirits and good nature because, you know, Joel's a great guy. He's one of the best guys I know and ever worked with in the media business, and I need to be held accountable. When I'm wrong, I need to be held accountable, but I'm not really wrong. And we'll get into that again today with Joel, but we'll also start today's show talking about Deion Sanders because remember last week when I said, I wonder if the Cowboys or the Dolphins should consider Deion as their head coach and Shedeur in a package deal. Well, now others are saying it, and we'll have that discussion. Steve Kim's going to join us here in about 30 seconds. But before I do that, I want to tell you guys how you can support me, this show, and what we're doing with the Fearless Army. You got to join the Fearless Mission by visiting fearlessmission.com. Use my promo code Fearless40. Become a subscriber. You get access to everything we do here on Fearless. You get access to everything that we do at The Blaze. I need you. We need you to join the Fearless Army in a real way and become a subscriber. Fearlessmission.com. My promo code Fearless40 will get you $40 off your subscription. Please do that today. Steve Kim, welcome back to the show. Happy Tuesday to you and yours. Steve, I want to play some clips for you here. We'll start with Rex Ryan, former NFL head coach, current ESPN football broadcaster. He's out here talking about Deion should be a candidate to replace Mike McCarthy as the Cowboys fall into dissent. And Rex Ryan's talking about Deion and Shedeur in a package deal. Let's hear from Rex Ryan first. Play the clip.
No, look, and here's the crazy thing. Look, they got to restart, but they got to do something that, in my opinion, like, how are you going to fix it? Well, I look at a couple of teams recently. All right, I look at the Lions. Who'd they hire? One of their former players, right? Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the Houston Texans?
Former
right
player.
Down the road. Former player, one of their former players.
D'Amico Ryans.
D'Amico Ryans. All right. I can see Aaron Glenn going to New Orleans next year. All right, or the Jets. You know, a former player. All right. Deion Sanders may be in play here, and I'm going to tell you, they need something. They need to have somebody that has the pride in that damn organization. Being a Dallas Cowboy, the pride you take in it. And by the way, Deion, everywhere he's been, has been kicking you know what. All right, Jackson State, they were unbelievable when he was there. He takes Colorado. Right now, they're 7-2. Nobody saw that coming. They're playing in the big, you know, whatever, the damn
Big 12,
now.
yeah.
Big 12. Like, I'm just saying, that because I already know Mike McCarthy's a good football coach, and he's going to be out the door. There's no doubt about it. The whole thing's going to be blown up. But watch what happens. They need that. How are you going to get this kid back on board? He's going to have to damn respect that guy that comes in that building. You're not going to respect Deion Sanders? He's twice the player you are. All right? And you know what? I coached Deion Sanders, a great teammate.
So that's Rex Ryan on my arch nemesis, Deion Sanders. And I can't really dispute anything Rex Ryan is saying there. although I will try on this after your thoughts, Steve.
Couple of weeks ago when we broached this subject, I thought it was a crazy idea. Jason, looking at the way the Buffaloes have developed as a solid, workmanlike, legitimate top 25 team that's in the playoff hunt, looking at how bad Dallas is, and the argument laid out by Coach Ryan, you know what? I'm kind of aboard this. And here's the other variable. Look, I don't want to get macabre about this, but Jerry Jones is pretty much late into the fourth quarter. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He might be desperate. Like, look, he needs to have one more Lombardi trophy to his name, or I'm just telling you, people are always going to associate him as the guy, not that won 3 Super Bowls, but the guy that got rid of Jimmy Johnson, whether that's fair or not. So there's opportunity added with desperation. Jason, I'm aboard. I'm on this. Believe it or not, I don't think it's the worst idea anymore.
Well, let me nitpick Rex Ryan here. Take Dan Campbell in Detroit. He's not the general manager. He's the head coach. Take DeMeco Ryan in Houston. He's not the general manager. He's the head coach. Deion goes to Dallas. He's going to go Bill Parcells. He wants to buy the groceries too. He doesn't just want to cook the groceries. He's going to want to buy the groceries. Deion's ego, far more enormous than Dan Campbell or DeMeco Ryan's. And he's got an owner who is desperate, who has been playing the role of general manager. And so Deion's going to want more control. He'll have leverage with the media in a back and forth if he and Jerry ever disagree. I think it could be a tiny bit high risk for Jerry Jones to make this move. He'll have to either surrender. I think he'd have to basically surrender all power to Deion Sanders, because Deion's going to want to buy the groceries the same way he's bought the groceries at Colorado.
Yeah, look, the head coach at a college program is the CEO. They are, in effect, their own general manager. And you're right, guys like Dan Campbell have Brad Holmes, who's just incredible at his job. But Deion just may say to Jerry, look, get me one guy. That's my son. And then I'm going to let you do your job and surround him with dogs, as he likes to say. That's an interesting I hadn't thought about that. Does he really want to be GM? Because there's a mixed history of coaches who get big-time opportunities and they leverage the GM spot. That does not always work out. And Jason, you talk about this being high risk. I don't disagree. It's a high-risk move because, look, just Rex Ryan, who I really like, points out all the success stories. Okay, what about Antonio Pierce? I can name you other examples where the ex-player does not turn into a great head coach. But again, great risk, great reward. Got to roll the dice once in a while.
I'm trying to think of a team. Since Belichick's gone, I don't think there's a team now that has a head coach that's also the GM. And so are we past those days? And the Belichick thing, it worked for a while, but now everybody's saying it worked because of Brady, and you got to be the architect of your defense while you were the defensive coordinator. It doesn't work because ineffectively, you had Nick Caserio doing it forever too when they were in New England. They had guys. I'm not sure that. I think it's been wholly rejected by the NFL now.
Andy Reid is not the general manager, but Andy and Brett Veach is, and he does a tremendous job. But Andy Reid has more power than the general manager. That's what I think the dynamic Deion will be looking for. And I don't, I question if Jerry can go for that. But do you think, again, DeMeco Ryan, Dan Campbell, do you think Deion Sanders, is this the way of the NFL now? It's former NFL players as head coach. Is this a little passing fad, or are they about to run the Bill Belichicks of the world completely out of football?
It's a good question. I bet we see this. Your we're broaching what Marshall Faulk was kind of asking for when we had him here, that he said we need more opportunity. He's talking front office, but the first step is really to go be a head coach somewhere. I think there's been guys doing it forever. Deion is such a star that he could go in and skip. Most of these guys had to work their way up to go straight to head coach in the NFL from college. It doesn't happen that often.
I gotta keep it real. Deion has worked his way up as it relates to being a head coach in the NFL.
But head coach to head coach to head coach.
Got it. But Jackson State is somewhat starting at ground. It's like being an offensive or defensive coordinator at a Power 5. It's working your way up. Jackson State. You ever been to Jackson, Mississippi?
It's the poorest county in America, I think. One of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not safe there, and it's not he was there for 2.5 years. I have to get. He paid his dues as it relates to Jackson State, and then he took a Colorado job that, he didn't immediately go to Florida State or something like that. And look, who knows? Now Deion's also a candidate, at Florida State and these other high-powered places in college football. Does he even is pro football really the best fit for Deion?
That's a great question. So I used to, in 2000, in fact, I was just going through, my parents just moved houses, and so I got all my crap out of their house, and I went and looked at all of my old recruiting material. And they were not, this is 2007, 2008 when I'm getting recruited. Nothing on the front of this stuff was players. It was all Nick Saban, Gary Pinkel, the prime head coaches of all, that's the top guy. Whereas you don't market like that. It's possible Deion's less relevant when he goes because you have his son will pass him in relevance because he's the star of the team. And the head coach is the guy. These are the marketing material, and everything they put out is Deion Sanders, it is Gary Pinkel, it was Nick Saban, it's whoever. And so I do think Deion's an incredible narcissist. And I don't think he wants to go to a place where everybody's getting paid way more than he is and he's less relevant.
Steve?
Yeah, Jason, you bring up Dan Campbell. The reason why it works, and I've studied this franchise a little bit as much as I can, he is not the GM, but he works in lockstep with Brad Holmes, who I believe is the modern-day Ozzie Newsome. His hit rate on draft choices is incredible the last 3-4 years. And when you see them on draft day and leading into the process, they are side by side in sync. But Dan Campbell says, hey, let me coach him up. Let me have a bit of a say in what we're doing. Keep me abreast of what you're doing, but you're the GM. So, again, if Deion Sanders, as a head coach, he said this last year, well, I don't do home visits in recruiting. They can come to me. Okay, so what makes you think he wants to go to the NFL Combine and go to all these pro days? I mean, that's work. That's a 365-a-day job nowadays. Deion may just want to be on the field and lead men. He may not want to do all that other stuff that a GM does per se. And by the way, I don't think Jerry Jones is ever going to give that up. That's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think but if he's a candidate for the Cowboys, he's going to be a candidate for other NFL jobs. He has said, and I think he said it in his Joel Klatt interview, that he's not following his son or Travis Hunter. He's kind of indicated that he's not going to run off to the NFL and follow his son, that his place is in college football. But I think for there's parts of me that think for his personality, he doesn't want to go out and hit the recruiting trail. He might be better off in the NFL. Because again, you're saying he doesn't want to be general manager, but he's general manager of his college football team while sitting in his office in Boulder, Colorado. He could be general manager of the Dallas Cowboys while sitting in his office.
Jason, you say that, and look, I don't disagree, but I do remember when he was on NFL Network, and every time there was a player at the end of his contract or impending free agency, he'd always blurt out, "Pay that man." Like, in other words, every player should just get as much money as possible. So he has a player's mindset. So now he has to make that transition to being on the other side of the table. He's not saying pay that man. I'm just telling you, it's a very, very tough job from being an employer to an employee because the dynamics change.
Steve,
I'm just.
you think in college football today, in name, image, and likeness, players aren't saying, show me the money, and Deion is probably sitting on the other side. Yeah, pay that man. Pay Travis Hunter. Pay Shedeur Sanders. Pay LaJohntay Wester. I'm just not sure if it's any real difference.
Which is keeping him off the
There's a
recruiting
salary
trail.
cap
I mean,
in
that
the
is the part,
National
like,
Football League. There's a salary cap. There's a difference.
Players don't believe in salary cap.
I'm not sure he has to. I mean, to the point Steve was making, does he really want to go out and sit in those living rooms? Do you have to if you show up with $1.5 million?
No. And I'm telling you, didn't I just read where maybe there's a USC commit quarterback that maybe is now thinking about flipping to Colorado?
Julian Lewis.
And
I read the same thing.
They're starting to recruit themselves, and he's turned that into a little hotspot for kids and well-off media and all the videos, and it's the Truman Show at Colorado. I can't. I'm sitting here saying, like, his way has worked and won. I can't believe I have to say that. I'm not good with it, but I do have to admit it. His way has worked and won, and man, this guy's going to have a lot of options. He and his son. I want to move on. Let me take care of one of our life purposes here at Fearless. Our great friends at PREBORN. If we learned anything from this election, it's how important it is to fight, fight, fight. We learned that from Donald Trump. We also learned how desperately the left wants to fight to take babies' lives, which is why every day PREBORN Ministries fights for those babies. PREBORN's network of clinics is positioned in the highest abortion areas, and they're fighting for mothers who are deciding between life and death for their unborn children. By introducing a mother to her child on a free ultrasound, that doubles the chances that mother will choose life. Then, once they choose life, PREBORN steps in and steps up thanks to the grace and mercy of God. When the left shouts out abortion, we must shout life. Will you help PREBORN in its quest to save lives today? If you have the means, would you consider a leadership gift to save babies in a big way? Your tax-deductible donation of $5,000 will sponsor PREBORN's entire network for 24 hours, helping to rescue 200 babies. To donate, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. You don't have to give $5,000. It would be great. But if you want to give $5 or $28, $28 pays for one ultrasound, $140 pays for 5. Whatever you can give in celebration, in thankfulness to God for what he delivered for us on November 5th. I couldn't think of a better thing to do than to give to PREBORN and save a baby's life. Go to preborn.com/fearless or /fearless, preborn.com/fearless. That's the way I prefer to give, or on your cell phone, pound 250, say the keyword baby. Steve, coming back to you here. Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes is going against the grain. She's in I honestly think Coach JB is in her head. She's now saying that I think quarterback play has never been better than we are right now today. And this sent QB play used to be, this sent JB's head into explosion. I think to some degree, she's trolling Coach JB, or Coach JB's in her head. She's saying foolish things, trying to be provocative, but also trying to trigger JB. He's been hounding her. I've been hounding her. You've been hounding her. Mina Kimes, the expert analyst. Well, you're on JB's show. Mina Kimes, the expert analyst on the National Football League, the little Asian lady that grew up a left tackle, I think, in Pee Wee football out in California or somewhere. You think she's being serious here when she's saying QB play has never been better?
I think she is. I don't think she knows any better. Look, everyone's entitled to an opinion, but I will take that opinion as seriously as the knowledge that comes with it. And look, Coach JB was ahead of the curve by at least 2, if not 3 years. He played the position, he coached the game, and people say, well, it's just him. Okay, but you and I have noticed this, Jason, in the last few months. Guys like Kurt Warner, who's only in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and went to a couple of Super Bowls, who breaks down this tape, doesn't look at analytics and numbers. He actually looks at the game and can explain it, have said, man, this quarterback play is bad. By the way, he's not the only one. And you just look at the breadth of how the consensus has changed from, wow, all this game's wide open, everyone's running spread, RPO, to, boy, these games are kind of hard to watch. And basically, games are hard to watch when you have bad quarterback play. So look, Mina Kimes can have her opinion. Coach JB and I and many other guys will reserve the right to vehemently disagree with it.
TJ, but I actually think she's trolling us. She's like someone will send her a clip of this and she'll laugh and say, this is exactly what they're talking about me. I think she has a right to have this level of confidence. I think she's got ESPN by the balls. I think they're paying her nearly $2 million. She's DEI. She feels like she's got the wind at her back. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to say things just to irritate these group of sexist pigs like Coach JB, Jason Whitlock, Steve Kim. I think she's having a good laugh as we react to her just saying silly things. And she's bulletproof.
10% of the pie is what you're talking about, I think. 5 to 10%.
Oh, I agree with you, but you could, that can be your read. I actually think it's 75% of the pie, but go ahead.
Yeah, my read, I think it's 5 to 10% in my view. I think the Charles Barkley quote about analytics comes to mind where he says, that's crap, that's for idiots, and it's created by a bunch of guys who ain't never played the game and they never got a girl in high school. She's an analytics person, and she sits there and looks at completion percentage is 73%. Look how good these people are. And all day, every day, because she doesn't know how to look at film, she can't even tell you what cover 2 is. She's one of the people who thinks cover 2 should be outlawed, I think. And she looks down and says, look at the stats. This is the best it's ever been. I think she's that dumb.
I think the game has changed more than the quarterback position has diminished. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I think that we put this brand on young quarterbacks having to be the franchise quarterback and that they should earn that position as opposed to being labeled that position. Look what's happening in Chicago right now. We don't allow these quarterbacks to come in. But look at last night's game. Sean McVay is at the head coach of the Rams. Yeah. Matt Stafford. How long has he was a first-round draft pick in 2009. Sean McVay, one of the offensive geniuses. Look how terrible this offense looks. I think the game has changed. This guy's had every reason to show you why a veteran quarterback and a great offensive coordinator should be dominating a league. If the quarterback play is so bad, he should be outstanding, and I just don't see it across the board.
Here's what's happened, though, Butter. And this is why she's wrong, because the game has changed. They don't practice near as much. And so if you don't practice, you're not going to be near as good. And that's what people that actually know the game are seeing. And so the offenses are more limited. When you don't have actual practice time, you can't do live reps. You dumb down the playbook because you just don't have time to practice. Yep. It takes... You know, didn't Malcolm Gladwell do some book where he talks about you got to do things and rep like 3,000 times, or you got to, in order to develop a high level of skill at something. And they don't do that in the NFL. They don't do it in the NBA. They don't. I would imagine they don't do it in Major League Baseball. They've reduced practice. They reduced the time and preparation. Now everything, you watch all the videos and it's guys working out in the gym sculpting themselves. So they are more athletic, they jump higher and all this other stuff, but in terms of the actual skill that it takes to play the position, bad technique wins. I watch, some talented offensive linemen play with no technique, and that's part of the problem with the left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, who's an embarrassment. and you know, is the biggest detriment to that team and protecting Patrick Mahomes. His technique's horrible, but when does he have time to practice it? When does he have time to practice against live competition? It's not there. So, you know, to expect Mina Kimes, who's in her mid-30s, you know, her depth of knowledge of the NFL and, you know, having evaluated what went on in the past, she can't do any of that. It's not really her fault. She's too young. She's been put in a position she hasn't earned. She's there for DEI. I think she's figured it out. Like, I can't win, so I might as well troll these guys. I'm getting paid a couple of $1 million, probably a 5-year contract. And she's like, look, all of this money is stolen. That's why there's no respect for the position. In terms of Jamel Hill, when she had that job, the 6 or whatever, and they're paying her $2.5, $3, $4 million or whatever. It's just stolen money, so she had no respect for the position, and they'll just say and do anything. I honestly believe, Steve, 75% of this is her just laughing out loud at all of us.
Maybe. Look, there's a lot of self-pity with her, which you've pointed out, but let's be honest. When it comes to the football panelists on ESPN and the guys that play the game, like Dan Orlovsky, Damian Woody, and Rex Ryan, who coached it, and if they're sitting around talking shop about how do you attack a cover 3, and if you're running trips to the wide side, those guys could tell you, and they can get on the board. She couldn't do that. Do you really think, sincerely, like, Mina, come here. Yeah, we have a question for you. We're running a 1-back set, but we're going to run a diamond formation.
I'm going to correct you.
What do you think? I mean, come on, they don't do any of that. They don't. They probably asked her to get a cup of coffee. Let's be honest with it, okay?
There's no question. There's no question she doesn't know anything about football. But, Steve, I want to be transparent here. 80, 90% of the players don't know football. They know their position, but they do not know football at all.
The analysts, you're saying?
Right.
Football players.
Right.
And so then they turn into analysts, and they still don't know football. And I'm gonna say Damian Woody's name. I don't know if this, I don't know if this applies to Damian Woody, but it would not shock me if all he knows is left guard and center or whatever position he played in the NFL. He may know nothing about tight end play. He may not be able to identify cover 2, trips, or quarters coverage, any of that stuff. I know defensive linemen, and this is why they don't make good head coaches. All they know is defensive line play.
C-gap.
Yeah,
I got C-gap.
They know nothing about linebackers or any of that. But go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing is, look, say what you want about Coach JB. All I know is this: he can go to a football practice and teach people how to play the game of football, the schematics of it, the fundamentals, how to line up. I don't think Mina Kimes can do that. So that's a fact.
Well, this is why it's important to have quarterbacks, one, not women, but also Dan Orlovsky can break the game down for you. These quarterbacks, Kurt Warner, when he stands up there, can break the game. I love, one of my favorite things on Twitter is Kurt Warner when he says, let me show you guys what's happening with this new quarterback and what really happened. You think he sucked. I thought he was great this weekend, and he actually breaks down the film for you. There's very few people outside the quarterback position that can do that at all. In fact, to the point where it's like the best analysts are often backup quarterbacks. Chase Daniel's doing a pretty good job right now on NFL Network. It is hard for anybody else to do it. You certainly, the second tier would be the Damian Woodies. At least guys who played the game. I don't know the game like a quarterback, but I can certainly tell you coverages. I can certainly tell you blitz screens. I can tell you triggers, right? I don't know that much about offensive line play. I'd say, hey, Whitlock, what's happening over here at left guard?
TJ.
Even for me, though. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of Chase Daniels, he has a YouTube channel where he actually does breakdowns using the All-22, and he'll break things down schematically and what happened, what's the proper read, did he make the proper read, was it the bad read, and why did this play end up that way? It's one thing to be able to read statistics. You have to be able to actually know the schematics of football. I could read statistics all day. I've done it my whole life. Doesn't mean I know anything, but at least I admit it.
I'm gonna once again give her this defense. She's been around these football players turned analysts. She can't say it, but I suspect she realized, like, hey, some of these guys only know a tiny bit more than me. I'm just telling Do anybody remember when Brett Favre was on the show and talking about playing quarterback and how little he knew? He was being very honest and very transparent. You can have so much talent at this that you don't have to know anything. You really don't. You're just super talented. I played with some guys that were like this kind of talented. And then there's a handful of guys that actually have to know the game and understand the game. It's generally by middle linebackers and safeties, generally understand the game from a big picture point of view. And centers, because they call out the defenses and a lot. They used to, in my era, they used to call out the protection schemes, and obviously the quarterbacks. But running backs usually don't know anything. Wide receivers usually don't know anything. I've already said defensive linemen, sometimes pass rushers, corners sit out on an island, don't know much. Again, this is where Deion kind of breaks the mold. And that was another reason I was suspicious of him, the position he played. But anyway, we're going to leave Mina Kimes alone. I want to move on to Boomer Esiason. Do we have that clip? Yeah. Boomer Esiason had an interesting theory on what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets because they've been horrible. And, man, he's saying Aaron Rodgers has kind of just sucked the life out, all the air out of the building. Let's hear from Boomer Esiason.
I hate to say it, man. It's like Aaron Rodgers has completely sucked the air out of the building. And I think so many guys are deferring to who he is in their minds. And in their minds and in my mind, he is a first ballot Hall of Fame player. One of the great quarterbacks when he was in his prime that we have ever seen. Very few people throw the ball like him. And I used to say that Dan Marino, Joe Namath, and Aaron Rodgers all threw the ball significantly different than everybody else. Like, we've never seen anything like it. And I will go to my grave still thinking that those three players were that special when they were throwing the ball and how they looked at throwing. It was just so natural and amazing. But, you know, since he has come here over the last 2 years, every player on this team, I feel like, has deferred everything to him. And the reason I say that is because Russell Wilson said something about Mike Williams yesterday, and it was being reported during the game that when Mike Williams showed up to Pittsburgh, he showed up with such a big smile, and he was so happy. Like, he was so unencumbered by playing for the Jets and with the Jets and with Aaron Rodgers that he makes the game-winning touchdown catch over his left shoulder in an amazing sequence of events, because the reason he's on the field is because a guy that would have been out there on the field gets hurt on the previous play, and that's the only reason he's out there. And Russell Wilson has the confidence to throw him the football, and it was a game-winning touchdown pass. And what Russell was talking about, Mike Williams, basically gives you a real perspective of what's going on in that locker room over there for the Jets.
Boomer Esiason, I think, is on to something here. You can be too smart. This is not a harsh criticism of Aaron Rodgers, but it's just reality. When you're the smartest guy in the room and everybody knows it, and then everybody lives in fear of being corrected by you, or just your energy can suck the life and put an edge in the room that generally needs to come from a head coach, not a player. When the coach walks in the building, I can remember I didn't even like our head coach, Paul Shedeur, when I was a player, but when he would walk into a room, we'd be on edge and like, oh, the coach is here, let me straighten up, and I don't want to say something stupid or blah, blah, blah. That's great from a head coach. I'm sure that's what it felt like playing for Belichick. But when you're a player and a teammate, wonk, wonk, wonk. When you walk in the room and the energy goes down because now there's an edge, oh my God. And that's where I think Tom Brady kind of excelled. He seemed to be the kind of guy, when he walked into the room, teammates lit up rather than like, oh my God, daddy's home. Now I better be on my best behavior. I think Boomer Esiason's on to something.
Jason, people forget Boomer, or his parents probably called him Norman Esiason. People forget his last couple of years, I think at least 2 were with the New York Jets, and then he ended up with the Cardinals. I wonder, does he have sources in that organization feeding him some of this stuff? Hey, look, we all use sources. and he's been in the locker room. He was a very good quarterback in his own right. He might be onto something. Look, Aaron Rodgers is the type of personality that when he's elite and he's great, it's a quirk. You love it. You love that idiosyncratic way he does it. But when he's not good, and it's obviously diminished production, it's an issue. And the reality is this in life. You will take all the quirks and the idiosyncratic blowback if you're getting something out of it. They're not getting anything out of it. This team is dead, Jason. I've watched them against the Cardinals. They have no life, and not all of it is his fault. That offensive line is bad. But Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy, if you don't enjoy him because he's not winning football games for you, he can come off as smug. And when you make the decision not to come to these off-season camps that are mandatory because you want to go out on a retreat a year after not playing more than 3 snaps, that's going to be an issue. And there's probably is resentment because there may be guys in that locker room who actually like Coach Saleh. And if you're the main reason why he's not there anymore, guess what? You don't like Aaron Rodgers that much anymore. So I do agree with you. I think Boomer is probably onto something here.
I think you make an excellent point about the energy of the room with the quarterbacks. I was around a few. A guy that sort of embodied what you're talking about was Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford was very weird in St. Louis, and he was unbelievable arm. One of the best arms, I think, in the NFL during his time. Was up there with throwing the best deep ball. The guy went home every weekend to see his girlfriend in Oklahoma. He was never one of the guys. So he'd sort of come around. Nobody even knew Sam Bradford. And he was just kind of weird. You know, he'd come in, he would lift 1,000,000 pounds. He was farm boy strong. It was very weird for a quarterback. He would hardly talk to anybody. And then he'd go back home to Oklahoma. And you notice the Rams sucked every year that he was there forever, regardless of the talent. That talent overcame it when he was at Oklahoma, and he was a Heisman Trophy winner. Beyond that, it didn't work. Tom Brady, he was kind of a dork. He wasn't funny, but he was always joking around with the guys. And so that sort of energy, it works. You have to be one of the guys, the quarterback. You can't be a separate sort of figure. The other thing I think Steve's onto here is he's always been a guy, Aaron, that goes against the coaches and thinks his way is the better way. When you start losing, a lot of guys start looking around and start thinking, hey, maybe we should try coach's way because your way's not working.
I wanted to see this work. I really did. I really wanted Aaron Rodgers to work here. I wanted the Jets to be good this year. I thought with their schedule, they had a chance to really pull this thing in when they got Devontae in that trade. I thought it was going to rejuvenate and gel this whole thing together, and it just hasn't. Tom Brady's success to me was because of Belichick and the combination of that. I'm not sure that we can totally blame Aaron Rodgers here for the way that the team and everybody's looking at him. I think that's the lack of strength in coaching, which Belichick gave Brady. And if you're not outworking everybody, and Steve mentioned, earlier in the year not coming to some of the practices and not being there, if you're not outworking everybody, this kind of attitude runs out quick, and I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening. I hate to see it, though. I wanted it to work.
This issue, and I don't want to sound like I'm comparing myself to Aaron Rodgers, but I am. But it's why I'm so quiet and I don't talk that much. It's why I'm a bit of an introvert, because I think when I talk too much off camera or whatever, I can be that guy that can suck the air out of a room. And particularly if you're, for someone like me with conservative biblical values and a lot of your friend and family base is liberal and think they have Christian values, it's just better for me to shut up than to constantly be correcting people. And because next thing you know, everybody's on edge. I may say something that Jason disagrees with, and then he's going to correct me, and he may quote scripture and walk you through the logic of how silly you are. And so I tend just to shut up. And so I know exactly, and when you're that guy and you're, when you're that guy and you have the Matt LaFleur, you've kind of emasculated him as the head coach. Salah, you've kind of emasculated because you're smarter than him and you're letting everybody know. And that's why, leaders sometimes are like, hey, I recognize the talent, but I have an overall vision. And this is somewhat like if I think about what put me at odds with some people at Fox Sports and even ESPN, because I would be the guy like, no, this ain't the way. Embrace debate, that's stupid. Let me show you what's better, conversation. And then I went out and did it and proved it. And instead of people being like, hey, this is great, they were like, no, man, you've just eviscerated my whole approach to doing things, and I can't get on board with it. So I get what Boomer Esiason's talking about here. I think there's a lot of truth to it. Steve, I got to make some room for Joel Klatt, so I got to let you go. I'll give you a final thought, but I got to make some room for Joel Klatt, so we got to bounce.
I'll make this 30 seconds to TJ's point. I'm a firm believer that the quarterback, because of what they get paid and their role on a franchise as the face of it, you have to be first one in, last one out, and nobody has to be more engaged and harder working. I'm not so sure that is truly the ethos of Aaron Rodgers, the way it was with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, or any real franchise quarterback we've seen the last 20 years. Aaron Rodgers, as soon as he started to become a pop culture figure and a celebrity, he started to veer off from really just being a football player. And I'm old-fashioned. I just want my quarterbacks to be the franchise quarterback. That's it.
Well, that is the.
Thank you, Steve. You can bounce. Go ahead.
The last thing about this, Jason, too, that everybody who's ever played with a guy who's not all in feels it. And are these guys looking around and they're like, Aaron, we suck. And you might be the reason why. That you didn't show up to anything, you're not that interested, you're talking about running for vice president, you're going on the Joe Rogan podcast. Do you even want to play football? Because if not, we'll take the less talented guy that actually wants to be here. That's an easy way to get your team to turn on you.
I'm not sure if they've turned on him, but I'm also not sure. But I do think they will turn on him, and they're probably at that point. I think initially, and for the first 5-6 weeks of the season, even through the coach firing, they were like, hey, man, we got one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. There's just a lot of excitement and optimism. I think right now they're at that point where they're like, man, this guy, who's thinks he's smarter than everybody and, points out mistakes receivers have made. Didn't he call out one of the receivers early in the season that made a mistake? And then it's like, okay.
Cadence, calling out the cadence thing.
Yes, the cadence thing. You're exactly right. And so now here we are at 2-7 or whatever we are, and we're not going to win anything. Now you're at the point where like, okay, we've been sold a bill of goods. This guy wasn't all in. This guy thinks he's smarter than everyone else and has corrected everyone else. And he's obviously now with their interim coach. And this is why probably firing Salah was a mistake, is because if you think he had emasculated Salah, what do you think he does to an interim coach? Yes. It's like, holy cow, this, everybody's looking over their shoulder and, Aaron, what should we do? This organization sucks. We've always sucked. You're the only one that's ever had any success. And now we got this interim coach. Who knows what his resume is? It's
Breece Hall.
Boomer's onto something here. Go ahead.
Breece Hall was one of the best running backs in the league last year. And these guys are all looking around. They're like, we have pieces to build on. Everybody knows Devontae Adams is really good. Everybody knows Breece Hall is really good. A lot of people think he's the second best back in the league behind Christian McCaffrey. And so guys start looking around and they're going,
someone called Saquon Barkley, who just jumped backwards over somebody. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Point is, I think guys are looking around. This is the worst place you can possibly be as a team. Guys are privately having conversations about Aaron Rodgers being the problem.
Before Joel jumps on here, and obviously if he comes in, I'll shut up.
You're going to have to shut up because I need to do a live read and go. But be quick.
I just want to say, what other billion-dollar corporation, what other billion-dollar industry sets up their business to be run where one person can control the complete destiny of that organization year in and year out? It makes no sense that these that the NFL and these teams put every piece of stock in the quarterback. I just think it's the wrong way to run an organization that one person should have that much control.
I have to think about that as it relates to any other organization. Before we get to Joel Klatt, I want to talk to you guys about Flying Ace and Craftco. There's nothing better at the end of a long day than sitting down in your favorite easy chair with a glass of your favorite whiskey. And hey, if it turns out that with every glass you're helping to support a great American cause, it doesn't taste any better than that. It's time to chart your own course with Flying Ace whiskeys from Craftco. Inspired by generations of American aviators and proudly made right here in the United States, Flying Ace is not only making amazing whiskeys, they're also committed to supporting our brave troops and their families through their partnership with Folds of Honor. They're providing scholarships to families of America's fallen or disabled, and these scholarships allow families to begin to chart their own new course after experiencing great sacrifice. Flying Ace whiskeys are American proud because they're American made, and they're American proud because they're helping to support our heroes and their families. Don't wait around. Today's the day to get your own and see what all the fuss is about. Buy online at flyingacespirits.com. That's flyingacespirits.com. Use my promo code America to get free shipping. That's flyingacespirits.com, promo code America. Joel Klatt, next.
I've been selling my stuff, hustling eBay, PlayStation car parts for little or no pay, so I can sit out here and watch the Titans play, stumble on home and rub my blue balls away. It's a damn shame what the NFL has turned to for fans like me and fans like you. Wish I could just wake up and Patriots red, white, and blue, but I can't. This football nightmare's true. Living in a Madden world with Lombardi sold. These cowards bound to feminists, Lord knows they all just want to wear pantyhose and control what you think. Wanna vex you and mask you, and they don't think we know that they drink Bud Light too. Cause these players don't hit, might as well have limp wrists. Cause of these cowards bowing down to feminists. I wish sports media would look out for fans and not just Taylor Swift promoting her brand. Lord, we out in the parking lot, tailgating, grilling meat, and the obese just can't wait to eat. Well, God, if you're a referee and blind is a bat, Roger Goodell should grow a pair and give you the axe. We had Derrick Henry, we played ground and pound, but the idiot Titans chased our king out of town. Lord, it's a damn shame what the NFL has turned to for fans like me and fans like you. Wish I could just wake up in Patriots red, white, and blue, but I can't. This football nightmare's true. Living in a Madden world with Lombardi soul. These cowards bound to feminists, Lord knows they all just want to wear pantyhose and control what you think. Want to vex you and mask you, and they don't think we know that they drink Bud Light too. Cause these players don't hit, might as well have limp wrists. Cause of these cowards bowing down to feminists. I've been selling my stuff, hustling eBay, PlayStation car parts for little or no pay.
And then I've got these two dark horses. Colorado's a dark horse for this thing. I would be insane to not put Colorado in there as a dark horse for the Big 12. They're really talented. They might have the best quarterback in the entire league, and their skill position players are insanely talented. This is a team that went from 1 win to 4, where it's really threw away a couple of other wins. Should have been a bowl team last year, and everyone's like, well, can they go to a bowl? Can they go to a bowl? What are you talking about? Like, this team, I think, is an 8 or 9 win team, which puts them in the conversation in a deep quality league for a potential bid to the Big 12 championship game. If they keep Shedeur Sanders upright and he can throw to some of these talented players on the outside like Travis Hunter, watch out. Colorado's going to win a lot of games. A lot of games. They've got a difficult stretch early. North Dakota State, they play early. Nebraska, they play early. If they win both of those games, then watch out, because guess what? It's going to be 2023 all over again. That hype train is going to be barreling down the rails, and I might be driving it.
So that's Joel Klatt. We're expecting Joel Klatt here. Joel's not ready. He's a little bit behind schedule. He's having trouble with his Skype loading. I'm a tiny bit surprised just because we've had Joel on before, but we will circle back to a topic that I wanted to address with Steve Kim that I thought we were running out of time. I want to play you all this announcement about Lil Wayne and his new role at the NFL Network. It's SOT number 4. Let's play the clip.
Big announcement, guys. Lil Wayne, yes, Weezy F Baby. He's going to join Game Day Morning every week beginning next Sunday. Mooch, yeah. You know, he's got a pretty famous lyric about lasagna, so can't wait to see you guys chop it up.
And make sure you call him, say Weezy F Baby.
Yeah, it's
or don't say it at all.
I'll
say it. I'll say Weezy.
Not Lil Weezy.
All right, so I'm not a fan of this. And Lil Wayne used to be a big fan of Speak For Yourself when me and Marcellus Wiley were on it, and Darnell Smith, who was on the show, who now works with Coach JB, used to wear a Weezy the GOAT t-shirt on Speak For Yourself. And so there's parts of me, and Lil Wayne went on Undisputed once and called BS when they were screaming racism. He's like, nah, man, when the police officer pulled me out of a fire in my house, he was a white guy, but, where's racism? He called BS on the whole thing. And so there's things about Lil Wayne that I like, but this forcing of rap music down the throat of football, I just don't get it. Lil Wayne, he talks in a way that's kind of hard to understand, sometimes. He's, with all the tats and everything, he's a bit of an eyesore. It's like, I'm not a big fan of Jelly Roll on camera. Good music or music's fine, but some of these guys aren't camera friendly when their faces are all tatted up. So I just don't understand what he's going to add to the NFL Network's game day broadcast. Am I wrong here? Am I a wet blanket here? Let's start with Butter.
This is a game now of influencers and bringing people into the fold that can bring an audience. There's always the audience play. I'm not sure, and far be it from me, I'm the rookie on this set, but I just don't think he translates on TV. Like you mentioned, he sounds like his voice is about to rust off, like he's so smoked out.
Yes.
It just doesn't, the energy just doesn't seem to translate for me on TV. I don't think he brings energy, but he does bring following.
I think it's a makeup call from, he's not, the Super Bowl is in New Orleans, and he's not part of the halftime show. So maybe they gave him this as a makeup for the not being part of the Super Bowl halftime. Who's performing at Super Bowl halftime? I can't remember. Who?
Scott.
No, who?
Travis Scott.
No. Kendrick Lamar.
Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. They gave Kendrick Lamar the halftime and not Lil Wayne.
You know, he busted out of character to yell at me.
Yeah. TJ, are you looking forward to Lil Wayne on NFL Network breaking down things with Kurt Warner?
Not exactly, no. You know what's frustrating? NFL Network used to be a place where, like, the really smart guys. Do you remember this? I mean, Deion was on that set, actually, but do you remember that Marshall Faulk, Michael Irvin, Warren Sapp, like guys who really knew football were on the set? That time has passed. Now, I can't remember the last time I turned on NFL Network because I don't enjoy it. It's not the same set that it was. And we were talking about Mina Kimes, who at least tries to study a part of football, and we still don't like her because she doesn't offer us anything. How is Lil Wayne, who doesn't study anything, going to offer us anything?
He's not there for that. He's literally there. He's a different Pat McAfee, except Pat McAfee was a punter in the National Football League and, you know, is an outsized personality. Lil Wayne is supposed to be an outsized personality, but he's not. He got the cool guy rap energy, not the football excited energy. But this is a makeup call for him not being part of the Super Bowl halftime. This is Jay-Z pulling puppet strings to connect Lil Wayne and who knows, maybe what's the guy, Baby? Is his name Baby that runs Cash Money Records that loves to kiss all these rappers in the mouth? Maybe he's threatened somebody with some Diddy tapes if Lil Wayne's not given a job on the NFL Network.
Beyonce, remember when she showed up at Kamala's deal and everybody booed when she started talking? That's how I feel about Lil Wayne. If you're not going to get up and rap, I don't want to hear you. You're good at one thing. Boo! Get off the stage.
Yeah. Let's do this. I'm going to call an audible. Justin, I hope you're listening. We're going to go to break, come back with Shemeka Michelle and the chat, and we'll see if we can figure things out with Joel Klatt as we continue. But let's go to break. And Shemeka Michelle, I hope you're listening and ready. We'll come back with Shemeka Michelle and the chat, what you guys have been saying. Next. The white man's dynasty comment, and I'm going to get myself into real trouble here because I'm just going to be real. Let's say that's true. Let's say the white man said, hey man, this is my country and I want to lead it. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because, trust me, take the NFL, for example. Everyone in the media says, that's a black man's league. They should have more black head coaches. They should be in leadership. They should have ownership. They should be the commissioner. The NBA, we need more black coaches. It's a black man's league. They built that league. The WNBA survived on the backs of black women. Caitlin Clark should fall in line. It's a black... Asia Wilson is the queen of this. She's the face of the league. It's a black woman's league. Everybody can say all of that. And the white man can't say, hey, Christopher Columbus had pale skin, and the Pilgrims, many of them had pale skin, and they fought the Indians and conquered this deal. And when Jewish businessmen went to Africa looking for slaves, black Africans sold black people into slavery. All right, welcome back, Shemeka Michelle. I wanted to ask you before we got to the chat, what you think about all these paid celebrity endorsements for Oprah Winfrey. Not for Oprah Winfrey, for Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey being one of them. Let's play a clip from Jesse Waters on Fox News talking about all the money Kamala Harris spent on from Beyonce to Megan Thee Stallion to Oprah Winfrey. Let's play Jesse Waters.
million to interview her in September. $1 million. Now, if she thought she was saving democracy, she should have done it for free. Kamala scared donors by calling Trump a dictator, got $1 billion, then just gave it to her friends and blew the rest on being a diva. Kamala went on a podcast, remember Call Her Daddy? But she didn't want to go to their studio in LA. So she made the host fly to DC and used campaign cash to build a fake set in a hotel room. She spent more than $100 grand to build it. That set, see it? 2 chairs, a coffee table, and a bookshelf. That's 6 figures. Now, we looked at the set. We probably could have done it for around $6 grand. That's without labor. But where'd the rest of the money go? We don't know. So she's still trying to soak folks for cash. 24 hours after the election, on Wednesday, Democrats got a text from the campaign. Urgent. We need help. Donate now. Help with what? You lost. This is how she's going to spend her donors' dollars.
Kamala, not really good with managing her checkbook. A checkbook with $1 billion in it for a 107-day campaign, and she went over budget by $20 million because she was paying any and every celebrity. I want to play one other clip. I want to play Marcellus Wiley back in August tried to alert everybody to this when they was just sending out random text messages. Hey, we'll give you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 to show up at the DNC. Let's play Marcellus Wiley.
I received, because I'm in the know of certain things, a text message from a political party that is out there recruiting. I mean, recruiting like Alabama, like Texas, like Georgia, recruiting people to actually vote. Quote, any, first of all, you sending me a message about any A-list influencers / celebrities who like to attend the DNC will get flights / hotel credentials to the convention and exclusive invites to private parties and events happening during the week in Chicago. Okay, I read that first paragraph and immediately I said, oh, that's why Megan Thee Stallion was out there twerking. Also, I'm seeking top celebrities to do a post and the budget per creator is around $20,000. Wait a minute, y'all paying me like Pepsi? This ain't no soda. This is for people's political votes. This is to influence their life to some degree. What?
All right, so that's Marcellus Wiley breaking this all down in August. Shemeka, are you surprised that all these celebrities were getting paid to pretend to be Kamala supporters and that Kamala went well over budget?
I'm not surprised at all, Jason. And all of these scallywags that's been running behind her for the last few years should feel real stupid right now that their favorite celebrities that they were running out, oh, I got to go see Meg Thee Stallion. I got to go see Beyonce. Did you see Oprah endorsed her? They should feel real dumb that these people weren't even doing it because they actually believed in her. They were looking for a check. For Beyonce to get $10 million to walk out on stage, I'm wondering what her little lapdog Kelly actually got for coming out there in that big giant suit looking ridiculous. They should feel silly right now, Jason, and it's frustrating because someone like myself would be called a grifter when I don't make money to say what I truly believe. Like, I was honestly doing this because I thought Trump was the best for our country. I have children. One day I will have grandchildren, and I saw the road America was headed down, and I didn't like it. No one had to offer me a big check to be online constantly or on any newscast on here to say Trump is the one that I believe in, because it was true and it was real. Now we see that all of these people were exactly what we claimed they were, Democrat shills.
It is those of us that are black, have a conservative point of view, even those of us that primarily talk sports, you know, we're always called grifters, and you took a payoff to blah, 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 while Plies and D.L. Hughley and Luther Campbell and Rolly Martin. These guys they're all doing it because it's what they believe. And now we know the truth because the woman had $1 billion and was cutting checks everywhere. D.L. Hughley, I'm sure, probably got $250,000, $500,000 for his support. All of these, they're bought and paid for. People have been trying to say this and tell this for years. Like, nah, man, it's the other side that pays. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen on the right, but it didn't happen for me because, one, I'm not looking for that. People are getting this money because, one, they're out looking for it. Their hands are out. And I'm sure there are some people on the right whose hands are out who had money put in their hands for doing that. But me? No. And I used to point, I was like, hey, man, go check my records of what I've been writing and saying for 30 years. It's all consistent. So when I was in Ann Arbor, at the Ann Arbor News in 1992, was I getting a check from the right wing then? When I was in Kansas City for 16, was writing all the same things, saying all the, was I getting a check then? When did someone have to pay me to espouse a conservative biblical point of view? It just hasn't happened, but it has happened on their side. I think it's embarrassing just on multiple levels that her support was so inauthentic. It's embarrassing. I've been struggling this entire election process with and I just wrote a piece yesterday that I said, and I am going to talk about it with Delano, and we'll air it later this week, just about Black women and just women in general and their support of Kamala. It's a sick cult, and they fall for the dumbest things. And she wouldn't be spending this money if it didn't work, and it does produce results. 92% of Black women and about 80% of Black men voted for this abortion proponent or abortion, the Indian Margaret Sanger. We voted for her. Hey, kill your own babies, kill your seed.
Right.
It works. We're that kind of silly and stupid. So, anyway, Shemeka, I'll give you a final thought on this, and then we'll get to the chat.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jason, one of the things I like about being on your show or any other show is that you didn't say, hey, come on my show and say this. You saw that I was saying this and invited me to the show. So it's like anything that I do is genuinely how I feel, how I believe. And I really like that I can stand 10 toes down on my beliefs and nobody has to try to sway me with $1. For the people that call us sellouts, the true sellouts are the D.L. Hugleys and the Plies and Uncle Luke, who was willing to sell out girls in sports, allowing men to be there, selling out the little boys and little girls who are suffering under gender affirming care, selling out the women that they claim they actually care for. Those are the true sellouts that were willing to sell our country to China and any other person. So they can't call us sellouts anymore. Those are the ones. If sellout was a person, it would be all of those losers, their pictures right in the dictionary.
Shemeka, what was popping in the chat today?
Well, Jason, Joseph Morrison is back. So I hope, do you have an answer for him with the Stephen A. Kevin Durant yet?
I do have one. Listen, these guys, Kevin Durant, all the guys in the NBA, they know how fraudulent Stephen A. Smith is. I don't understand why they bite their tongues, though, and not fully point out just how fraudulent Stephen A. Smith is. They know that he's lied about his own basketball career. They know that he's, got puppet strings attached to him. But it doesn't surprise me. Kevin Durant and a lot of NBA players have no respect for Stephen A. Smith, but they know he's backed by Bob Iger and Disney, and they have to deal with him. I don't want to reveal too much, but I'm waiting for one of these guys just to call, because Charles Barkley is the only one that's ever made a comment about just how fraudulent Stephen A. Smith is. But at some point, one of these guys is going to fully call him out, and Kevin Durant is probably the most likely, and to face-to-face call Stephen A. Smith out about all of his lies about his history. Next. I hope that was worth the wait.
Anthony in the chat says, don't care what negativity you say about Deion. There's an elderly white lady who loves him, Miss Peggy.
Miss Peggy, good for you. She loves Deion Sanders. Good for her. I don't love Deion Sanders. Good for me. We'll see who's right and wrong over the long haul. And look, Deion, the way sports have been rigged, and they're so in bed with rap and the culture and all that, and the culture's corrupt. And so, someone that doesn't represent Christian values in a proper way can probably have success in college football and professional football at a level and in a way that I didn't think was possible. Hats off to Deion. There are some great things he's done, and I've already talked about it in terms of giving Warren Sapp the opportunity that he's given him. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate what many of Deion's assistant coaches. He cleared out some coaches from last year that seemed to have come in and done a better job. Perhaps he was right about that, or maybe he certainly seems to be right about that. But I don't respect Deion's approach. Next.
Maybe you know who this is. They said, good morning, Shemeka. Can you please ask Whitlock why he is afraid to debate Ticket TV?
I've been on Ticket TV show on YouTube. Ticket TV is illogical, talks over people, has virtually no substance. I'm glad he's having success. He's doing a lot of Diddy-related content and all that, but I'm not afraid. I just don't have time. He's too illogical, too rambling. He's not having a sincere conversation. I went on his show and I remember he just kept talking and repeating the same thing over and over and over again because he just wanted to keep me on as long as he could. It's not worth it. He's not a serious person, but it's not fear. It's just time management. Next.
Rennie in the chat wants to know, can we bring back justice for TT? We should get at least one segment a week, please.
I agree. We need to bring back justice for TT. We got to bring back beefs. I'm working on it. I apologize. We will be bringing it. Some of this has to do, again, with my home renovation and home studio so that I can get the content ordered properly and have enough studio time and space to do some different type of content. Right now, we're leaning heavy into sports on this show, but Justice for TT and Beef will be back. Next.
Last one. Joseph Morrison again left a super chat, and he said, hopefully you'll answer my question this time, LOL. Do you like Christmas music, and what is your favorite song? Mine is Hark the Herald Angels Sing by Amy Grant. And he said that's for both you and I.
As it relates to Christmas song, I hate to acknowledge this is my favorite Christmas song, but I loved it as a kid. Anytime I hear it, I love it. It's a song I associate with Christmas. Santa Claus is a black man. Santa Claus is a black man, and he's just like Daddy too. I loved it as a kid. It's the one Christmas song that sticks in my head. It's racially idolatrous, but I'm just keeping it real. Was there a second question there?
Well, I'm supposed to answer. And I would say my favorite Christmas song goes something like, bah humbug, bah humbug, ooh, bah humbug. I hate Christmas. I'm the Scrooge. I am like Grouchy Smurf. I hate Christmas. So I don't have a favorite Christmas song. It's a sad time for me. I did a little bit of decorating last year to try, but no Christmas tree, none of that.
My tree's already up.
Oh,
You got two young kids.
It's not for them, it's for me.
Why do you hate Christmas?
It's a long story, Jason, but it stems back from me being 17 and my mom giving me a really hard time because I didn't buy her anything. She told me not to worry about it, focus on getting out of high school and going to college. Yet she gave me a really hard time. So the first time I ever stripped was to buy her something the next year for Christmas. And I just hated it ever since because she had no idea what I did to provide or give her something nice for Christmas. And she was so happy she didn't care. And so I just feel like people get so caught up in the gifts that it just has really taken away the joy that you're supposed to feel for it.
Well, that is certainly true of me as it relates to Christmas and gifts. I tend to provide a lot of gifts, but it's halfway begrudgingly. It's out of tradition. I don't really believe in the whole gift-giving thing, and I'm not good with accepting gifts as it relates to Christmas. So I get where you're coming from, but some of my best moments as a child are related to sitting by that, knowing what's underneath the tree and just looking at those boxes and looking at the wrappings and fantasizing about, and probably the fantasy about the games and the gifts were probably better than the actual gifts, but Santa Claus is a black man. You heard that song? Do you know what I'm talking about?
We don't have one of those, but
It's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Mom's cooking up some chicken and collard greens.
Yeah,
that's where you gotta go. That's where it's at.
All right, well, thank you, Shemeka, and we apologize. Hopefully we'll get Joel Klatt later in the week. We had a bunch of technical difficulties. We got them figured out, but by the time we got them figured out, we'd have had to do a very abbreviated interview with Joel Klatt. Maybe we can get Joel Klatt later this week. Maybe we can get him next week. Apologize for all that. I want to apologize also to our great friends at Angel Studios, and we'll be doing a Make Good today and tomorrow on this because I wanted to make sure that I promoted their new movie, Bonhoeffer. As the world teeters on the brink of annihilation, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is swept into the epicenter of a deadly plot to assassinate Hitler in Angel Studios' upcoming film, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, hitting theaters November 22nd. Get showtimes right now at angel.com/Jason. With his faith and fate at stake, Bonhoeffer must choose between upholding his moral convictions or risking it all to save millions of Jews from genocide. Will his shift from preaching peace to plotting murder alter the course of history or cost him everything? Please, please go check out this movie this Thanksgiving, this holiday season. Get your tickets today at angel.com/Jason. This is based on a true story. You heard Eric Metaxas on this show talk about this movie. I know there's been a lot of anticipation about this movie. Make sure you guys check it out this holiday season. That's it, and that's all for us today. We'll play tomorrow, and we will see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation, we all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone, I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back, we are receiving, all deceiving, we all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I wanna be